Hi everyone, my name is Chris and I'm one of the participants in the Alpha course that has been running over the last few weeks. I just wanted to record a short video and talk about what that experience has meant to me so far. Just to give you a little bit of background, I actually studied theology and different religions at uni. I had a particular interest in this all through school and ended up doing a degree in theology and philosophy. I predominantly studied Eastern religions because I always had this slight aversion to Christianity and Christians, and I didn't grow up in a Christian household. And I think a little bit like the videos in the Alpha course, if you've ever watched them, touch on, is that I often thought and put Christians in a particular basket that I didn't want to associate with. I thought that they were all a bit intense and that I wasn't too sure about the way they think about things and the world. And there was a particular foundation of knowledge that I certainly had before starting the Alpha course, and many things that we've discussed over the last few weeks have really had an impact on me, and not only the way that I think but the way that I feel. And many of the things that we've discussed have really touched a chord. A really good example of that is talking about not just thinking about things but feeling them, and when things move from your head to your heart. And one of the things that has happened for me over the course of the last few weeks is so much suddenly moving from my head to my heart, and that I now feel things, whereas before I would always try and rationalize everything, or I would be very critical of everything and overthink everything. And I think that I've probably spent most of my life, all of my life, searching for something, and searching for love, and probably have developed through my own experiences this idea that love is conditional, that people will only love you if you are a certain way or if you behave a certain way. And this has caused many problems in my own life, that if I don't behave a certain way, I believe people will no longer love me, and so I do things that I don't want to do, and I feel obliged to do things. And one of the things that we talked about recently was the prodigal son. And for the first time, I suddenly felt what that was about. Rather than just looking at it with a critical eye, I suddenly realised that unconditional love is the unconditional love that God has for me, and that God accepts me as I am. That I don't have to be a certain way or behave in a certain way, but that God loves me unconditionally, and that God forgives me for anything that I have done that I beat myself up for, and that I feel guilt and shame. And that's probably one of the other things that I've often held on to through my life, is constantly playing over memories and experiences and times I've said something that I didn't mean, or said something that hurt someone, or the problems I've had with relationships, or turning to things like alcohol because I didn't feel loved, and because of the problems that I had in relationships. And again, in some of the resources that were sent after each of our sessions, it talks about how so much of the sin in our lives is caused by desires and temptations and problems in relationships. And I've suddenly been able to relate to everything that we've been talking about. And on the last session on Sunday, for me, it was really profound. I was certainly in a space where I was thinking a lot about my life and looking back on the journey that has been my life until this point, and thinking about the fact that I'm loved unconditionally, thinking about the fact that I am forgiven for those sins, and being able to understand why I felt guilt and shame over certain ways that I had behaved, or why I had behaved that certain way, because I was looking for someone else out there in the world to love me and wanting them to love me unconditionally, even though I knew that they would probably only love me conditionally. And as we talked about some of these things on Sunday, I was overcome. I was overwhelmed with emotion, and it is one of the hardest things I can possibly describe. And again, in some of the material from that session on Sunday and in the video, it talks about that for some people, they know the exact moment that they became a Christian. They know the exact moment when it happened for them. And for others, they're not sure, they can't pinpoint the exact thing. There was an analogy of a train and people being on a train crossing a border, and some might be asleep and they don't know exactly when they crossed the border, and some might have been awake and they know exactly when they crossed the border and they can remember it. And that for me was Sunday. I just felt so overcome with a mix of emotions of joy at realizing that I was loved unconditionally, but also feeling it, actually feeling loved for the first time in my life. And I could cry talking about it again now, but the first time in my life I genuinely felt loved. And I felt the Holy Spirit coming into me, and when we prayed for that, and I felt so many different things. And after that, I very clearly and categorically said, I am a Christian. And that not only do I understand what that means, but I feel it. I know it and I feel it. And I just wanted to share this with you. I said it was going to be quick. This is probably not a quick video at all anymore, and I know that I have a journey ahead of me, and there is so much that I still want to learn and to know and to feel. And I feel like I've just taken a huge step in that journey, and I'm really excited for that journey ahead. And I understand how each of the moments in my life have led until this point. And one of the things we've discussed again is around the idea of suffering and why suffering exists. And I feel like for the first time I can look back on things that have happened in my life and understand that often through that suffering is when we feel God the most. Again, one of the resources had a quote from C.S. Lewis around suffering and pain being God's megaphone, and that hit a chord for me, and suddenly everything seemed to make sense. I'll stop there because I could probably just keep talking about this and probably keep grinning from ear to ear, but I just wanted to share that with you and thank the team for running the Alpha course. It's been amazing, and I'm really enjoying it, and I'm really enjoying everything about it, and looking forward to what else is to come. Thanks everyone.